Good evening. Happy Valentine's Day. Sharing the ISA love out to everybody. So here we are, week 2 of boot camp. Last week, you heard from Ilsa and Tim of finding people to talk to. So I've seen a lot of posts going around and I'm really struggling with this whole finger thing. But who here did, I have to fold them down, this post? Type a 1 in the chat if you did one of these posts. Loads of ones coming through. And type a 2 if you had a great response to that post. And have now a ton of people to follow up with. Perfect. So, like I said, we're into week 2 of boot camp. And, I'm really excited about this whole 6 weeks of training because it's really going to give you the tools that you need to really explode your business. So I'm super excited for every week's call because I know we have some epic trainers. But on to this week's call. So this week's speaker, this lady had joined Isagenix and she was an osteopath. Running a business, she felt tired, worn out, and no time for her family. She found Isagenix, started using the products, and felt the enormous shift, not only in her energy, but also her body. She's married to Jono, who is her absolute rock. So, and for the past year, they've been traveling as a family with Maya and Isaac and Jono, and I got to spend some time with them here in the UK. But what I love about this lady, or I should really say family, because they come as a package, is that they are always at the end of the phone to bounce ideas off and to support us in everything that we do. So please welcome to tonight's call, 14-star Platinum, 18-star Crystal Executive, Jen Patch.
Good evening, everyone. Good morning for me. Thanks, Charlene. Charlene, I've just been letting everyone in. I hope that's okay while you're talking. So if there's any randoms turned up, you'll know. It was me who let them in. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being here tonight, all 47 of you so far. And I'm so grateful to be here. As always, I love hanging out with all of you. I feel so far away now that I'm back in Australia and it's 5 a.m. So I'm trying to wake up. I've had my first coffee. So hopefully I can deliver you guys some content that will be really helpful and really help you get out there and have some great conversations. So the topic that Charlene's asked me to talk about is closing and handling objections. And what I'm going to do is share my screen. And hopefully, can you guys see that okay? Awesome. Hey, Michael, thank you. Okay, let's get started. Right. So before we get to the close, before we get to the objections when we're talking to someone, and before we get to the close, we have a whole conversation, right? We don't just get straight to that point. So tonight we're going to talk about the whole conversation, because if we set up the conversation really well, we have ideally no objections and it just flows smoothly into what we call the close, or I prefer to call the offer. So let's get started with this. Now, just type in, I don't think I can even see the chat, but just type in the chat. I'm going to stop share for a tick. If you feel like when you think about sales, you think, it's not my favorite word, just type a 1 in the chat. And type a 2 in the chat if you absolutely no issues, just love sales. When you think about selling, you get super excited, you can't wait. So just let me know, who have we got on here? Have we got some 1s or some 2s? And for years, I want to tell you that I was a 1 for sure. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't do selling. No, don't do sales. No, thank you. So what have we got? Ones, yeah, don't like sales. Some people love sales, but lots of ones. Awesome. Okay. So first thing we're going to work on, back to me sharing my screen, is the mindset. So often what happens is when we want to learn something new, we want to go for the mechanics. We think, just tell me how, just tell me what to say, and then that's going to make it work. The problem is, if we don't have the right mindset, it gets in the way of the mechanics, and we find that we're resistant to doing the thing that we need to do. And every time we go to do it, we procrastinate, or we find something else to do, and we don't get to the conversations. So if we can change the way we think about the selling process, then we're more likely to lean into it, and we're more likely to enjoy it. And energetically, it's more likely to be a successful interaction. Does that make sense? Instead of having this resistance all the time. So I realized a little while ago, years ago, that I had an organization full of people that were really resistant to sales. And I thought, imagine if I could help them see sales the way that I see sales, so that they could learn to love it, so that then they got excited to get up and have these conversations every day, instead of thinking about, oh, I want to talk to that person. I don't know what to say. What if I say the wrong thing? Oh my gosh, I feel a little bit bad. I feel like I'm trying to get them to buy something. I feel like I'm taking their money, and having all of that resistance. So it completely changes the interaction when we change how we feel on the front end. Okay, so what happens typically for the people who feel like the resistance to sales? So all the people those of you who typed a 1, and remember, you're building a team, okay? So you too will have an organization full of people who some really love sales, but most have resistance to sales. Most don't like even the word sale or selling. So what they will do when we say this, do this, post this, is they go into an avoidance behavior. So they'll post and pray and hope that someone contacts them with their credit card. And I just want to tell you that when you do a post and pray that someone's going to contact you with their credit card, they don't. They never will. No one ever has, and you won't be the first. When you don't enjoy sales, when you feel resistance to sales, you avoid conversations. And we want to hide from the no's, because we feel like the no's they feel like rejection to us. Versus when we change the way we feel about sales, we get in the trenches, and this is where we find the traction, because sales is like any other skill. It's learned and it's earned. So we can get better at it. And some people confuse their alignment with their competence. They say, oh, I'm not good at sales. I'm not good at sales. But it's actually just that they're not good at it yet, because they haven't practiced it enough to get comfortable and to have it flow and to have it feel good. So the first thing we need to do is clean up and create a new relationship with the word sales and with the process of sales and selling. So on this call, we don't have time to run through the actual process, but what you can do is write down these questions. And then later on tonight, before you go to bed, you can sit with a blank piece of paper and put each question at the top of a new page and write, how does sales feel for me? And then just let it all out onto the page. How does sales feel? And you might write, sales feels sleazy, sales feels pushy, sales feels awkward. I don't know what to say. I don't like selling. I don't like taking people's money. Sales is, sales is, sales is. Okay, and just let it all out. And then flip the page over. Have a glass of water, come back to a fresh page and write, how do I want sales to feel? Imagine that we're in the business of selling something, right? That's how this business goes around. That's how all business works. So how would you imagine if you could find joy in the process? Imagine if it could be fun. Imagine if you got excited about it. Imagine if you could look at it in a different way. Imagine if you could see sales not as selling a product, but instead solving a problem for someone. Imagine that you have the gift of being able to solve someone else's problem or to help them solve a problem. How much different does that feel? Then I'm going to try and sell them a product so I can get a PIB. I'm going to try and sell them a product because I need another enrollment so that I can qualify for the Welcome Home Challenge. Feel the difference? I'm going to find out what their problems are. And maybe Isagenix is part of the solution. Maybe they have a toothache that's so bad they can't think of anything else and they can't get into a dentist, but you have a friend who's a dentist and you can phone up your friend and say, can you please fit my friend Susie and she's desperate to see someone. Maybe that's the problem that you can solve. But we don't know what people's problems are until we get into the conversation. And because we're humans with big hearts, we love to help other people solve problems. All humans do. But most humans, we don't like to sell because at some point in our life, we've been sold to and we didn't like the feeling. We felt pushed, we felt manipulated, and we didn't like that. And we don't want to be that person deep down inside, of course, right? Who would want to be that person? None of us want to be that person. The third part of this process of cleaning up and creating a new relationship with sales is, why do sales matter? So when you think about it, the first thing I think of is that sales really is about solving problems, as we just said. That's number one. And I love to help people solve their problems. But number two, I like buying. I mean, who else likes buying, right? We all buy things every day. If someone didn't sell them to us, we wouldn't be able to buy them. Buying and selling is what makes the world go around. And by saying, oh, I don't like sales, I'm not going to deal with it, I'm not going to change the way I think about it, it's kind of like saying, I expect someone else to do the thing that I'm not willing to do. And that's not really fair, because if we want to buy, someone has to sell, right? And I think about all the times I buy through the day or through the week, I'm so grateful that someone had that product or service so that I could buy it, that someone was willing to sell their product or service to solve my problem. I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful that I can hand over my money, because I don't have time to become an expert in dressmaking or vegetable growing or whatever the thing is. I can't be a dentist and an accountant. I can only be a physio. I can't be a lawyer. I can't be you get what I'm trying to say, right? So it's just really spending some time to change, to really take 100% responsibility for how we feel about sales. Because if we carry resistance in this process, it will show up. It will show up energetically. It will show up in our words. It will show up in the conversation. The other person will feel it. And that will result in less sales for you. It's really that simple. Charlene, feel free to butt in anytime you have a question or anything like that.
I will.
Awesome. Okay, so remember, sales is a learned and earned skill. So don't mistake your alignment with your competence. What happens when we first start to learn a new skill? It feels awkward. It feels clunky. We feel incompetent. And so many people, when they start out, Isagenix might be their first foray into selling or really owning a sales process. And so, of course, it feels like it's when you first learn to ride a horse. It's like, oh my gosh, how do I steer this thing? And every lesson, it just feels awkward until we practice and practice and practice. And then it feels natural. It feels normal. We have flow. It feels easy. And then it even starts to become fun. But most people quit before they get to the competent stage where it's enjoyable. And they quit when it's in the awkward stage and they say, sales isn't for me. It's like, no, it's not that sales isn't for you. You just didn't give it enough practice to get good at it. So I want to say to you, don't quit in the awkward stage. You can do this. You can become a pro. You can become masterful. And the quicker you become masterful depends on how many conversations you're willing to have. You can take 10 years to master this, or you can master it in 10 weeks. This is up to you. But it's the same number of conversations to mastery. You will decide the time of it. Okay, I'm just going to mention this. Take a screenshot. There's 2 of these slides. This is work for home as well, because we don't have time on this call. Many people have trouble with the close, with asking for the sale, because they have their own money issues, their own money stories, their own money baggage. So if you are carrying baggage around money, limiting beliefs around money, and most people are, your bank account is a reflection of your money stories. So if your bank account isn't as full, isn't as large as you want it to be, I promise you have money baggage, you have money stories. And if you're willing to work through your money stories, you will help clean out your sales process. So take a screenshot of those, and you can go on a self-discovery process to try and figure out. And this is like peeling layers of an onion. So I was doing a training call last night, and one of the girls said to me, I don't have any more money stories. I've done all the work. And I said, I still have money stories, and I earn over $1 million a year. And I'm still finding the stories. If I didn't have any, I would earn $1 billion a year, right? So we all have money stories, and they're like layers of the onion. We peel one off, and then months later, we might go, oh, there's another one. So one of my money stories was, I grew up as a child believing it was greedy to want more than I needed. That's a money story, right? And that was limiting my ability to bring more money to my life. And that would make me feel awkward about asking other people for money. And it would energetically create a block in the conversation. So you have to figure out, that was just one. I had many, and I'm sure I still have many. But you have to start peeling off the layers of your onion and find your money stories and understand where they're not serving you to create more money in your life. And you have to kind of pull them out and rewrite new ones that will serve you to create more money in your life. Because as long as you want to hold on to these stories, you will limit money coming into your life. And you might want to go and buy some books on this. There's so much work to do in this space if you're willing to do this work. There's another slide. You can take a shot of this one as well. And that's just some examples that I wanted to put here just to trigger the process. So another great activity that you can do tonight is to write at the top of a page, money is, and then let it all out. What is money? And just put some music on and let it all go. Money is, money is, money is, money is. And some of you will be surprised what comes out. Awesome. Okay. Now let's get into sales. So the thing about sales is it's simply a communication process. And 2 questions sitting over the side there. We're going to talk about the parts of the process, but 2 questions sitting over the side. And it's as I talk about the process, I want you to think about which part of the sales process are you trying to avoid? And which part of the sales process do you need to practice? Because sometimes we think, I just suck at sales. Well, probably you don't suck at the whole part. You just suck at maybe one part or 2 parts of the process. Maybe you're really great at connecting and then it all falls apart after that. Or maybe you're just not connecting enough, so you don't actually have enough people to talk to. So these are the 4 parts of the sales process. Connect, which is what you learned about with Ilse and Tim last week. If you don't have people to talk to, you don't have people to talk to. Imagine a restaurant, right, where no one walks in the door. You don't have a business. So we have to connect with people. That's how we find our potential. That's our potential pool of customers, our pool of potential customers. Then the second phase is identifying if they have a problem. We're going to talk through the process to identify if they have a problem. Then we make the offer. Some people like to call it the close. I prefer to call it the offer. And then once they get started, we support them. And we build the relationship from there. So that's really the communication funnel, which is the sales process. Okay, so connecting you did last week. This week we start on identifying, do they have a problem? And this is there's 5 steps written there. You can take a photo of that, or you can write it down. We'll sit on this slide for a moment. But your job is to find the gap. Is there a gap? So imagine that imagine it's old. When I roll over, it squeaks. The cat did its business in there. It smells. When Jono hops in the bed, it basically bounces me out the other side. It gives me whiplash. My neck's so sore, my back's sore. I wake up walking around like I'm 84. And then I go walking down the street and I come across a bed shop. And the salesman, he calls me and he says, Jen, we got these new cloud beds. You must come in and try them. And I go in and I lie on the cloud bed and I lie there and it's like, oh my goodness, I really need one of these cloud beds. And so I buy the cloud bed and he delivers it and I have the best night's sleep. And the next day I'm walking down the same streets, past the same shop, and there's another salesman working today. And he says, Jen, come and we've got these new beds. Come and lay on the cloud bed. There's nothing that can make me buy another bed, right? At that point, one day later, because the gap is there is no gap. There is no problem to solve. But the day before, the gap was huge because my bed was causing me so many problems and the cloud bed fixed all of my problems. But now that I have a brand new cloud bed, my problems, my B, where I want to go, they're on top of each other. They are the same. There is no problem. There is no sale. Make sense? So we must identify if there's a gap. How do we do that? We find out where are they now? What are their problems? And we find out where do they want to be. So Charlene, if you could change anything about your health in the next, say, 90 days, what would you change? That's my favorite question. I love asking people that question. And then I find out what Charlene says, because otherwise I'm just making assumptions. I can't just assume that everyone wants to lose weight. I can't assume because I look at the guy sitting on the bench over there, just because he's got a bit of a tummy, that he wants to lose weight. Maybe he doesn't care less. I have to have a conversation and find that out. So where are they now? Where do they want to be? Where are they now? Where do they want to be? Is there a gap? If there's no gap, there's no more conversation. The show's over. We can't push something. Imagine the guy kept trying, but you have to buy a cloud bed. I'm like, dude, I just bought a cloud bed yesterday. He's like, oh, I'm sure you need another one. No, there's only one of me to sleep in a bed. And Jono sleeps beside me. We don't need another bed. Oh, but, no. And that's where sales goes wrong. When we try and push things on people they don't want. And we feel awkward, they feel awkward. We lose a friend. They run away. Because
Jen,
there was no gap.
I was just about to say, just quickly. So like there's a key here, right? So the man with the cloud bed, he's not listening. So you have to, would you agree? You have to listen to what the prospect is saying.
Absolutely. Ask more questions, talk less, for sure. And then once we identify that, oh, there is a gap, there's a problem here, we ask more questions. We don't go straight to the pitch, right? Because that's like if someone walked into my physio practice, let's say Michael walked into my physio practice and he said, Jen, I've got a sore shoulder. And I just said, okay, lay down. And I just started work on it. But I can't possibly know what's wrong with his shoulder because I haven't asked enough questions. And yet so often you're getting stuck in this sales process and you're getting hit with objections and you're not feeling when is the right time to make the offer because you just haven't asked enough questions and they don't feel that you understand their problem enough to give them advice. And your advice is you should start on isogenics, right? But they're like, you don't know enough about my problem to know that. And this is all happening unconsciously, subconsciously in a very quick way. It's not even, they're not even thinking, oh, well, he didn't ask enough questions, so he mustn't know that, it's all just, it's automatic. We're always just thinking, do I trust this person? Do I trust what they're saying? And if we haven't asked enough questions, how can they trust us? So once we understand there's a gap, there's more conversation to be had. If there's no gap, let it go. Then what stopped them? So I would say, Charlene, so what have you tried? What have you tried? So let's say Charlene said, I want to lose 5 kilos. And then I would say, well, so what have you tried so far? What's worked? What hasn't worked? Why haven't you already lost it? I'm trying to find out, because if she knew how to lose it, she would have. So there's something there stopping her. And Charlene might say, well, I know what to do, but I eat 5 blocks of chocolate every night because I just love chocolate. I don't know what she's going to say, right? But then I'm thinking, oh, wow, so she's probably got a bit of a sugar addiction. That'd be tough. How can we help that? What can we do to help with that? She's probably eating chocolate because she's not getting enough other nutrients. It's like, oh, Charlene, I think you're probably going for the chocolate because you haven't haven't eaten enough during the day of the good stuff. And I have these meal replacement shakes that would give you all of the good stuff so your brain doesn't go looking for extras at nighttime. So you don't have those cravings and you don't have to rely on your willpower anymore. How does that sound? See how we get to I get to the crux of Charlene's problem because I asked enough questions. So that's the whole process there, 1-pager. Okay, let's go into this in a little bit more detail. Now, everyone with a heartbeat and a credit card is not our customer. So some people, so we have a traffic light system, which is really easy to understand. So of all the people you connected with, some people are what we call a red light. So they're not problem aware and they're not seeking a solution. So we might look at them and think, wow, isogenics could really help you. I think you need to lose some weight. But they might be like, they don't think they're overweight. They're sitting there smoking, drinking, having a great time, eating their hot chips and happy as. All their mates are a bit overweight, a bit pudgy too, and they're happy. They're not our customer. And what tends to happen, especially when we're new in this business, is we talk to those people and they say, no, go away. And we get all upset and we think it's us. And we feel rejected. And we find that rejection hard to take. And we try it a few more times and it happens a few more times and then we quit because it felt awful and we didn't like this. It wasn't fun. So I want to tell you that if you're talking to red light people, they're not saying no to you. They're not our customer. Imagine going into a nursing home full of 95-year-old ladies and trying to sell them a brand new Ferrari. You're probably not going to get a sale, right? That's not where you would go to sell Ferraris. And yet sometimes we think everyone's our customer and we take it personally when they're not interested. But it's not about us. It's about them. And so then the next category of people are an amber light. So they're problem aware. So they know they've got a problem, but they're not seeking a solution. So many of us would understand this. We know our jeans are getting tight. They're getting tight, but we keep eating baguettes. We keep drinking the wine. We keep the party going. And they keep getting tighter and they keep getting tighter. And we're just like, ah. And then one day we go to put the jeans on and we go, right, the party has to end. But the jeans are no tighter today than they were yesterday, really. It's just that something changed up here and we decided the jeans, the party has to end, right? So on the day before we make that decision, we're in amber. So we know the jeans are getting tight, but we're not ready to do anything about it. So for those people, all we can do is make them aware of what we do, of what problems we solve, but we can't push them to be ready to change. That's not our job. But when that day comes and they go to put the jeans on and they go, right, the party has to end, I want them to think, oh, Jen, I'm going to talk to Jen. I know she does that thing. I know I saw that post where she lost some weight and I know she helps some people. I'm going to give her a call and say, hey, can you help me? My jeans are too tight. Because now she's in the green category. So how do we find out which category, which traffic light people are? We have to ask them questions. Do you have anything that you'd like to change about your health? Say in the next 90 days. The red people say, nah. Health, what's that? The amber people go, nah, not really. Guess I maybe could, nah, but I'm okay, thanks. And the green people go, so funny you asked. I was just thinking, my jeans are getting too tight. I really got to do something about it. I don't want to buy a bigger size. And see the difference? But if we go and try and sell to all three, we're just going to get hit the resistance. We need to ask the questions first. Okay, so let's talk about the offer, the close, because I know so many people tell me they're in the conversation and they're thinking, oh, but how do I do the close? How do I close it? How do I get the money? How do I make the sale? This is the awkward part. So my first thing I did to help me is I changed it from the close, because that for me sounds very black and white and like an intentional, I'm going to get your money. It feels very transactional. So instead of a close, I think of it as an offer. And I offer to help them with their problem. So you have to find your language. I've got a couple of suggestions there on the screen. You can take a photo, but you need to find what feels good for you to say and lands well for them. There's no secret sauce recipe. What Michael says won't work for me. What I say won't work for Michael. We say very different things, I'm sure, in our process. So many people, when they learn something new, they want the recipe, right? You want the mechanics. Remember mindset and mechanics? You're looking for the mechanics. Just tell me what to say. Just tell me the secret sauce. You have to find your own way, your own words. So you might say, would you like my help with that? Or if it's okay, I'd love to take you through some options that I know could work for you. How does that sound? Or, oh, I think I could really support you to lose those 5 kilos. The program that I follow and that I recommend to others, I think it could be gone in 30 days, but even within 1 week, you won't even be looking for chocolate anymore. And then I roll in straight into, I'm going to send you a link. Do you prefer chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry, or a combination of all three? Okay. So I'm going to send you a link. We're going to replace some of your meals with these highly nutritious shakes. And I've got a couple of power up moves. I'm going to get you doing some intermittent fasting. Don't be too scared. I was terrified when I started. I'm going to help you with that. And we're going to use special botanicals called adaptogens, which will help your body to deal with stress and lower your cortisol. Because cortisol, some of the cortisol in your body is probably driving you to eat the chocolate. And so we're going to take the cortisol away and take the drive to eat the chocolate away. And that's just using the chocolate as an example, right? But always referring back to her problem, tying it back to her problem. It makes the offer so easy. She's just thinking, if I could take the cravings for the chocolate away, I could get rid of the 5 kilos, but it takes so much willpower and I don't have enough willpower. So let's not ask her to deal with willpower anymore. Let's fix the cravings. And she can see that that's going to be her solution.
Jen,
Yeah.
can I ask a quick question? So you dropped that line really naturally. What would you prefer, chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry? That's a line you use all the time, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So
Always. Because I want to set them up.
Explain that a little bit more, because I feel like you literally, you've got them buying in. You said, I'm really excited to show you. Let me show you how. Is that when you drop that line?
Yeah, because I want to set you up. So I say, I'm going to set you up a special link unique to you so that it's really easy for you to jump on and buy the products that I'm recommending. All I need to know is, do you prefer chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry? Because they've said, would you like my help? I say, would you like my help with that? And they're like, actually, I really would. Awesome. So I'm going to set you up a special link unique to you. And all I need to know is, do you prefer chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry, or a combination of both? Or a combination of all three?
So I just need to stop you there, because it's such a valuable line that is a close in itself, right?
It is, but you can't use it just out of the blue, right?
Not just go, yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be part of the process, and it just flows because it's all about the problem. And I 100% believe that you having the chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry shakes is going to take away the chocolate cravings, which in turn is going to help you lose the 5 kilos. And so some of you will be thinking, oh my gosh, do I need to understand these products? Yep, you do. If you want to make multiple 6 figures or 7 figures a year, yep, you need to understand these products, every single one of them. If you only want to make a few $100, a few $100, euros here or there, that's fine. Just, you don't need to understand the products, and you might snag a sale here or there. But if you really want to create a great consistent income, and if you want to have customers who understand why they're using these products so that they buy them again and again and again, you need to understand how these products help solve their problems. And it's really simple. It's really, you don't need a nutrition degree. It's actually really simple. Okay, now let's deal with objections. We're nearly done. So where people trip up, first of all, we're terrified, waiting for the objection. It's like, oh my God, I hope they don't object to this. Oh my gosh, what if they say, and we're thinking about all the what ifs. What if they say something that what if they ask me a question and I don't know the answer? Oh my gosh, what if they say they can't afford it? What if? And so the first thing to do is again, just like we've done the work, changing our perception, changing the way we perceive the lens that we look at sales through. The first thing to do is do the same with objections. So instead of panicking about objections, instead of dreading objections, instead of making assumptions, instead of having all these negative feelings, we can see objections. We can choose to look at objections differently. We can choose to look at them as an opportunity to understand where they need more information. They're just telling us they don't know enough yet. They need us to connect the dots better for them. We've left out some information. They're not seeing how what we've offered is going to solve their problem. That's all they're telling us. And so our job, we're the guide, we're the dot connector. We're connecting, we're showing them. Our job is to show them a clear pathway. Remember the gap? Our job is to show them how these products can help them move through the gap to their solution, to have the problem no more. So sometimes we're getting objections because we're making it about our needs, not theirs. It's like, oh my gosh, I need 2 more enrollments to get to the Welcome Home Challenge. Or there's an incentive trip on. I need to get these points. Oh, I need a PIB. Haven't got my PIBs. Haven't got all. I need more money this month. So the first thing when we get an objection is to understand it. What do you really mean by that? When people say to me, oh, this is one of those pyramid schemes, the first thing I say is, what do you mean by pyramid scheme? Instead of going straight into defense, because I don't know what I'm defending. When they say pyramid scheme, I don't know what they really mean, right? And mostly they say, oh, one of those pyramid things, you know? And I'm like, no, what do you mean? And they don't even know what they mean. And that's the end of the conversation, usually. Sometimes we get to the point where I say, oh, those like a Ponzi thing, yeah, they're illegal. No, this company's been in operation for 21 years, sold billions of dollars of products. This is fully legit. It's in 25 different countries. That's the end of that. Right. So that's just one example. When people say, but I can't afford it, I say, well, what are you eating now? It'd be like, how much is all that chocolate costing, Charlene? How much are you spending on chocolate? But once I get people to understand that what they're eating, get them to own how much it costs. If I get a price objection, mostly I don't, because the process, I've followed the process. I rarely get a price objection. I might get oh, it's expensive. And then I say to people, well, one, it's your whole month of food except 1 meal a day. So it feels like you're paying a lot up front, but you're barely going to be going to the shop. But 2, remember, what you're eating now is not enough nutrition for you and not enough of the good stuff. And that's why you have the problem. And you have to put more of the good stuff in so that you don't have what you know, and I keep repeating the problem back to them. So when most people receive an objection, they go straight into convincing, straight into defending. Don't do that. Your first thing you should do is think of a question to ask back, to clarify, to gain more information. Remember, the objection is just them saying they need your help to understand more. So remain in helping mode, and you can work through the objection. They may be telling you they're an amber or a red, not a green. But you're just, remember, you're in problem-solving mode, trying to figure out, are they red, are they amber, are they green? But if they're amber and you annoy the crap out of them and push them too hard, when they're green, they're not going to come find you. Okay, but if you stay in problem-solving mode and your genuine intention is to help them solve a problem, not to sell products to them, it can only be a good experience. Okay, so if you've followed all the principles and you know that they're in the right potential customer lane and you understand their A and you understand their B and you follow the 5 steps, then pause and let the objections be okay. So we've talked all through that slide. And then just to finish, so we've got, I just wanted to pop here the two sales hacks that are my favorites, which is number 1 sales hack always is just actually care. Really care about the other person, not care about whether you make a sale. Care about the other person and their problem. And shift your intention from selling products to solving problems. That, if you can just do that, those two things, you will completely change the results that you're getting. You'll enter into more conversations because you'll be looking forward to the conversations. You won't have resistance. And the person that you're talking to is going to feel that genuine care and your genuine intention to help them solve their problems. And the sale will come so much easier. So, Charlene, I think that's it for me. I hope that that's okay. I don't know if you have anything else that you want to clarify.
Yeah, no, I just want to open up, see if there is any questions. I could see Helen put a question in to say, when do you mention the cost?
They get that when they get the link. Yeah, so often I don't. I just say, yep, awesome. And then I'm going to send it through, and sometimes they'll come back and say, oh, it's expensive. And then we have another little conversation, but usually they're so like, yep, they commit. They're like, yep, I'm ready to do. Sometimes they'll say, how is it expensive? How much is it? And I'll say a shake's about, or in Australia, a shake's about $5 a meal. And then there's some other products because you need the adaptogens and some of the extra support. There's one product that speeds up your metabolism. There's another that helps to pull the toxins out of your colon and helps you sleep better. But yeah, it just depends if they ask. Some, like, honestly, so many people don't even ask the cost. They just click on the link and make the purchase if you followed that process. Yeah.
There was another one a little while ago that said from Natalie, and she just said, what about, I think I know the answer, but I'm going to let you have it. What about those that are convinced they've tried it all and nothing would help?
Well, again, you won't get that in the process. If you follow that process, you won't get that. And that will come down to you really understanding the products. So, anyone, even personal trainers, even health professionals, I say to them in that process, usually, how much protein are you eating? And they usually say, I don't know. Pretty much 99 out of 100 people say, I don't know. I'm like, well, you need to know. Why? I'm like, because lean muscle mass is the most important organ in the body and it impacts every other organ. And they're like, oh, well, and I'm like, and it needs to be good quality protein too, because if you want to eat, I don't know what you call them. You know, those little red sausages with red skins. What do you call them? We call them Frankfurts in Australia. They're like rubbish. You know what I mean? Yeah, you want to eat those, you're gonna look like one of those. You need to eat the good stuff, and it will fix all of your health problems. And I get them to do a calculation. I think if you did one, you can work out the math. You guys are in pounds mostly, or some in kilos? Yeah, it varies, doesn't it? Okay, for the people in kilos, 1.6 grams of protein per kilo. I say, do that. So write down, I say to them on the call, get your calculator, put your body weight in kilos, multiply it by 1.6. What's that number? And they say, 131. I'm like, that's how much protein you need every single day. This is why I don't get any cost objections. I'm like, so in a 200-gram steak, oh my gosh, I lived in the UK. It's ridiculous. A steak at a pub is like 30 quid. It's like 60 Australian dollars. I tell everyone, I'm like, oh my gosh. So 30 quid for a steak this big in a pub, and that's going to give you about 50 grams of protein. You still need another 80. Where are you going to get it from? I'm like, here's these shakes. What's a shake in pounds, Charlene? 250? Ish?
Probably about £314, yeah, 340.
Yeah, 340. Not 30, but even a steak in a supermarket is like 10 pounds, right? And here you can have this. And I get them to add another scoop of 24 grams of protein in a shake, yes. And I get them to add another scoop of pure protein of the Isopro, right? Takes it up to 42. So 2 shakes a day. Now they're at 84, and then they can spend their 10 pound on their steak or their chicken or whatever that is. But it saves them money. They see that straight away. That's why I don't get any money objections.
I've just come up with another question. Because you obviously went straight in with that strawberry, vanilla, or chocolate line. It's like ringing in my ears. I love it. But do you sell a variety of packs?
I
you do
don't.
a pack?
Yeah.
What is it that Jen sells and why?
I only sell the 30-day reset plus a canister of Isopro pretty much every single time. And then I might, if I've got an athlete, I'll get them on the amped range in the second month. But I don't even get the athletes on the amped range in the first month because they're mostly undergunning their protein, and I just want to get them back to baseline before I add in training aids. If I ramp up their training when they're basically not getting enough nutrition, I just set them up for injury and for being sore and for not recovering. So that's just me being a physio. They can start on whatever they want, of course, but always just 30-day reset plus an extra canister of protein. That's my favorite pack.
It's really simple and easy to duplicate, I would imagine, to your team.
Yep. I have my whole team just singing the same song. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
Yep.
I don't see any other questions, unless
Awesome.
there's anything else that you want to add. But I want to thank Jen for your time tonight. I know it's super early on Valentine's Day as well.
That was yesterday, so it's all good.
We're a day. Oh, we're good. We're still at Valentine's Day. But just to wrap up the call, hang on, let me just to wrap up tonight's call. Jen spoke about enjoying the selling process, create a new relationship with sales. Instead of making a sale, think of solving a problem. Everyone loves to help people solve problems. When you first start, a new skill will feel awkward until you practice and you practice some more, and then it becomes natural. The sales communication process: connect, identify, offer, and support. Identify. That's really finding out about them, where they are now and where they want to be. Be curious. Listen to them talk. Really connect with their problem. Hey, if you could change anything in the next 90 days, what would you change? Identify who you were talking to by asking questions, and think about where they are in the traffic light system. Red, not problem aware, not seeking a solution. Amber, problem aware, not seeking a solution. Green, problem aware and seeking a solution. It's time to go. If you could change one thing about your health in the next 90 days, what would you change? Once you have that green light, it's time to offer. I can help you with that. I can send you a link. What do you prefer? Strawberry, chocolate, or vanilla? Remember, objections are opportunities. Don't be defensive. Just ask more questions. Understand really what their objection is. But you have to keep thinking, are they a red, amber, or green? So last but not least, the sales hacks. Actually care. Shift your intention from selling products to solving problems. So thank you for joining tonight's call. I will leave you with one last thought, and that is, in business, our aim isn't to just sell, but to solve. By focusing on solving problems, we naturally attract success and build lasting connections. Have a fantastic Valentine's Day.
Thanks, everyone. Happy Valentine's Day. Bye. Thanks, Charlene.